Francesca Albanese, who might be black herself. You know, the old joke about Sicilians. If you haven't seen the movie True Romance, you'll understand the reference. But Francesca has been making it her mission to uphold international law. It seems like she's the only person, Jen, who's trying to uphold international law
and Yemen,
and
Ansar Allah in Yemen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Francesca is being a target. But where we're going to conclude the conversation this night, guys, is to show you there's the story that is, and then there's the story that the Israelis want you to believe.
Correct.
So here's the clip.
First UN person to be sanctioned.
Le sanzioni americane sono pesantissime, pesantissime.
And the implications are enormous. It's really impairing as a person. It creates a chilling effect around you because anyone who engages with a US sanctioned person risks to be arrested and to be subjected to very heavy fine.
Io sono la madre di una cittadina americana e mio marito lavora per un'organizzazione che è negli Stati Uniti, quindi capite che mi colpiscono al cuore in questo momento. Mia figlia tecnicamente è passibile di arresto e di pene pecuniarie fino ad $1 miliardo per aver preparato per...
I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, this is, I mean, that's the way they bully everybody. They bully everybody. First, it's sanctioned. So she's been sanctioned as an individual. So when you're sanctioned, it essentially means that anybody who affiliates with you is then going to get in trouble so that you're basically turned into a pariah. That's what that's what we've been doing to Venezuela. That's what we've done to countries so that any country that trades with them or has any interaction with them will then also be be in our wrath, right? So now that's what they've done to her as a person. It's disgusting.
Got that right.
Per aver preparato un caffè o per aver preso la mia colazione. Io sono rientrata in Italia, a Napoli, per ragioni familiari. Affitto sempre la macchina, non posso più affittare una macchina perché non ho una carta di credito.
The sanctions are pressure. The United States has been really forceful toward me.
Nessuna banca può aprirmi un conto corrente perché senza il rischio di incorrere in sanzioni secondarie imposte dalla legge americana e durano in perpetuità.
Io sono trattata quasi alla stregua di Osama Bin Laden, soffro grandissime limitazioni e trovo orribile.
I don't understand what it is she's expected to do different that would release those sanctions. Is there some sort of demand? Because I don't understand from where I'm sitting, she's just doing her job for the United Nations. That's what she's doing. So she's doing her job that she's being sanctioned for. And so there's no way for her to not be sanctioned. I don't know what it is they would expect her to do at this point to eliminate that or relieve the stress of that. Not that she would.
We're going to first read the article from Jacobin, and then we're going to show you what the Zion-Nazis think. Francesca Albanese and the Palestinian fight for survival. The U.S. sanctions against Francesca Albanese are testament to her courage, speaking up for the Palestinians. If international law lies buried underneath the rubble of Gaza, truth-tellers like Albanese have implicably, why can't I say that word? Implicably? Implicably? Is that how you say it?
No, it looks like implacably, but I don't know what that, I mean.
Okay, well, right. Okay.
Implacably.
I said implacably.
Implacably? I don't know.
Defended basic universalist principles. Colin, thank you. Keep going. This July 9, the Trump administration targeted Francesca Albanese for sanctions. Executive Order 14203 listed the 48-year-old UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Palestinian territories occupied by Israel as a specially designated national, thereby forbidding U.S. citizens and companies to have any dealings with her. Secretary of State Marco Rubio explained Albanese's campaign of political and economic warfare against the U.S. and Israel will no longer be tolerated. What economic warfare did she exactly pose against the U.S.? Or is it that because she goes after Israel, as you like to say, we are one and the same? You attack Israel, you're attacking the United States, at least in accordance with the neocons anyway.
I guess they're trying to make it be like somehow what she's done has had economic impact on Ziohel. And so therefore this is basically mutual. It's mutual. It's reciprocal rather. So you're gonna do things that are imposing economic harm on our little terrorist appendage. So we're gonna do something to you that causes economic harm. That's what it is. It's like economic warfare, but against an individual instead of a nation state.
Thanks, Lippy. So implacably means in a way that cannot be appeased, soothed, or changed.
There you go.
That same month, the 8th edition of Albanese's 2023 book, J'accuse, appeared, only available in Italian, only in Italian. It presents her indictment of the ongoing Israeli war crimes in Gaza leading up to the Hamas attack on October 7th, 2023. Its title comes from a famous 1898 newspaper article by the French novelist Émile Zola. He called for the truth above all in the case of the Jewish army captain Alfred Dreyfus, who had been falsely accused of treason. Albanese makes the same demand for the truth about today's genocide in Gaza. Trained in international law and human rights at the University of Pisa and the decolonist seedbed of London School of Oriental and African Studies, Albanese lived in Palestine from 2010 to 2012. She has long written extensively on the Israel-Palestine question, most notably Palestine refugees and international law, together with Lex Teckenberg. The appointment under the UN Special Rapporteur position in May of 22 brought her into daily contact with the worsening situation in Gaza. She has exceptional opportunities to gain insight into the crises leading up to October 7th. Again, the Zionists will have you believe that everything started on October 7th. Could you please continue, Jen?
In J'accuse, Albanese intelligently frames the Gaza war in its proper historical context, going back to the Balfour Declaration of November 1917, when the British government announced its support of a national home for the Jewish people. She focuses on the period beginning in 1948 with Israel's founding for the Palestinians, the Nakba, or their catastrophe. Another chronological focal point concerns Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories beginning in 1967. Israel's 16-year blockade of Gaza also comes in for extended analysis as background for the current war. So essentially, she tells the entire history. That's what this is. I don't think we need to necessarily read the details of all of these points she makes. This is the reason she's being penalized, is for reporting proper history.
Scroll down one more paragraph column. Avoiding the term terrorism because of its politically charged biases, Albanese evaluates the events of October 7th according to the international law enshrined in conventions adopted at Geneva and The Hague. On that basis, she condemns Hamas for slaughtering innocent non-combatants and taking civilian hostages. She repeats these charges several times in the book. By the same legal standards, Israel's indiscriminate military attacks against the defenseless Palestinian civilian population in Gaza also constitute war crimes. And then some. Hamas's crimes should have been prosecuted by an independent tribunal, not punished by unleashing Israeli firepower against civilians. Now, again, part of the reason I disregard this commentary is because I'm convinced beyond any doubt that October 7th was a pre-planned attack.
Yeah.
Netanyahu had everything to do with it. He funded Hamas. He probably had a coordinated effort to make sure that the attack by Hamas led to the political. Remember, his political situation in the Knesset is very reminiscent of what you saw at the top of the show. It's not good. And it certainly wasn't good prior to October 7th.
No.
So to suggest that there was something sinister going on here would be an understatement. Something is going on here, and it's not good.
No, but also I think it's the only real failure that he had on October 7th was that they didn't kill all their own people, because that's where it really went wrong for them. Is that the Hamas, the freedom fighters, were able to get hostages. And that was really what the Hannibal Directive was supposed to solve, because they shouldn't have had any hostages to have to deal with. And that's where he went wrong.
Moreover, immediately following the Hamas attack, Israel's then defense minister, Yoav Gallant, declared that essential humanitarian aid would be cut off. This meant no electricity, food, gasoline, and water for Gazans, Palestinians. Israel had found itself combating human animals, Gallant declared, and would respond accordingly. She accused captures the Palestinians dehumanizing existence under Israeli rule, also in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. They suffered varying degrees of torment by the government and vicious colonizers in the Israeli settlements. She quotes UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Hamas's deep depredations did not come from nothing. 56 years of merciless occupation paved the way for October 7th. Guterres, too, condemned Hamas for its crimes against innocent civilians, but no one should have been surprised by the inevitable explosion of resentment arising from Israel's illegal occupation and its nightmare system of military checkpoints. That is a good place to conclude what is Jacobin's version of why Israel is coming after Francesca Albanese with everything they have to ruin her life without just outright assassinating her, which I'm sure they would love to do, but there is too much attention on her that if she was assassinated, there would be no doubt as to who did it, and that would be an international incident that they would not be able to survive.
I don't know. At this point, I feel like they're immortal, but yeah, I think that was an interesting assessment. So Jacobin is essentially saying, okay, they're going after her for her doing her job. They're going after her for her pointing out actual historic facts and truth. So everybody remember that. That's story number one. Okay, so now let's see version number two of why Francesca Albanese is being sanctioned.
From David May and Ben Cohen of the National Review, 50 years of gaslighting Israel at the UN. 5 decades after its creation, it's long past time for the Committee of the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People to be shut down.
Right. They just want to shut down that whole concept. We're not even going to have a UN committee dealing with Palestinians. We're not even going to address. They don't even get that. They don't even deserve to be addressed. We're going to shut that down.
Francesca Albanese is a fervent anti-Zionist. Bravo. Not coincidentally, she's also the UN Special Rapporteur dedicated to advancing false allegations against Israel.
Isn't that an interesting way of phrasing that she's the UN Special Rapporteur for Palestine? Like literally, that's what her job exists to report about what's happening in Palestine. That's the whole point of her existence for the UN. So they just want to shut down that whole department because the Palestinians obviously don't need any sort of representation.
Albanese recently delivered a speech that would have been rapturously received by the Columbia University chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine. Her defamatory statements about Israel were uttered at an October 30 event blessed by the UN and officially convened by a little-known body at the UN. Keep in mind, guys, both of these articles dropped today. The Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People.
Think about that, though. How that, to be against that. So you're against a committee that's giving to support the inalienable rights, meaning like your rights being an existing human on this planet, that the Palestinian people should have that committee. Like it's crazy.
Albanese, who is sanctioned by the U.S. for pushing false war crime charges against American and Israeli citizens, yeah, totally false, told the CEIRPP that Hamas's actions in Gaza constitute Palestinian self-defense. Yeah, they do. She accused Israel of practicing apartheid and waging a genocide.
I love how they have those words in
all
quotes. It's in quotes. Apartheid in quotes, genocide in quotes.
She stressed her conviction that the Palestinians, like South Africans, were and are the victims of European settler colonialism. Please stop me when you don't want to tell the truth anymore.
She stressed her conviction, like it's her opinion. That's like the person the other day that said I had my brand of socialism when I was just giving the definition of it. This isn't her conviction. This is just facts. That's just hilarious.
With Palestinians serving as guinea pigs in an experiment that keeps on going. Yes.
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 That's exactly what it is. Take the next one, please. Scroll column.
All right. This is hilarious. She complained that Arab states from Iraq to Libya to Lebanon to Syria are on their knees and insisted that we are witnessing the realization of greater Israel on our watch, a nod to the long discredited belief in the Arab world that Israel aims to conquer all the territory from the Nile to the Euphrates rivers. Then why would they be in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq right now? Like, why would they be doing those things if there was no plan for the greater Israel? Which is funny because do you see what they're saying? It's from the Nile to the Euphrates. That sounds familiar. That sounds like something very familiar to me. I don't know exactly what that is. This gaslighting of Israel, in which no contention is too wild if it contributes to the depiction of the Jewish state as the world's worst human rights abuser, has been CEIRPP's, which is the Committee for the Palestinian, let's just call that Palestinian Human Rights Group in the UN, sole purpose since it was created by the UN General Assembly 50 years ago. So in other words, after the Zionist state completely nakbud, tormented, tortured, and exiled the people, several years later, the UN decided maybe we should have a committee about the rights of those people that we just totally destroyed. Maybe we should have a committee about that. But that's even a bridge too far. We can't have that. Passed on the same day, the General Assembly approved perhaps the most infamous resolution in its history, Resolution 3379, which equated Zionism, the national liberation movement of the Jewish people, with racism.
50 years ago.
Right.
Exactly.
But it's interesting. So that's the resolution that equated Zionism with racism. No. Zionism is equated with racism because it's racist. It didn't need a resolution for that. It just does that all on its own. Okay. Chaim Herzog, the late Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, demonstratively tore up the resolution while standing at the General Assembly podium in New York. The late Daniel Patrick Moynihan, then the U.S. ambassador to the UN, charged that a great evil has been loosed upon the world. The abomination of anti-Semitism has been giving the appearance of international sanction.
Can I just give a big fuck you to Daniel? I to give a big fuck you to Daniel Patrick Moynihan. You're a shame to your people. I hope you understand it, and I hope you heard me when I said it.
And Piano Man's correct. Zionism is both racist and anti-Semitic. I'd like to put that out. It's both of those things. But to say that Zionism is not like that doesn't make any sense anyhow.
Nevertheless, thanks to pressure from the Soviet Union, those Red Army shitheads, whose anti-Zionist foreign policy was matched by its domestic persecution of Jews. Man, like you said, how do you know they're lying, Jen?
Can you believe this article is current and came out like this same
today? It came out today.
It's insane.
Scroll down.
This
please.
is how delusional, though. This is the level of, this is the disconnect. This is this total, we are in so different information silos that this is a really good example of how absurd this is. So anybody who would just be reading this, let's say hypothetically, can you imagine that view of the world?
Well, this is a supremacist view of the world, period.
Which is why it's funny. Yeah. They're calling it ridiculous.
Thanks this time to the U.S. unrivaled international influence at the end of the Cold War, it was rescinded with a grudging one-line resolution. But the UN still behaves as though the Zionism is racism resolution remains on the books. Great. The continued existence of Palestinian rights, designed to institutionalize that shameful resolution and give it teeth, is proof of that.
How dare they think Palestinians should have a committee for their self-determination and their rights?
You know, I'm convinced that Shapiro wrote this and Ben Cohen is his alias. He scribbled all this together. The UN,
Josh Shapiro or Ben Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro. Well, hey, listen, Josh
Don't
Shapiro.
say his name again, or you know what's gonna. If you say it 3 times, it's gonna be like Beetlejuice. So when his name is said 3 times is when I got to play the thing. So I'm just letting you know.
Well, Josh Shapiro, according to the New York Times, is the future of the Democratic Party. Not so.
Oh yes.
As far as
yes.
as far as the Democratic Party is concerned, yes, I would agree, because Zohran Mamdani is not the future of the Democrats. No matter how much. No matter how much people who think you can still save the Democratic Party want it to be that way, it's not going to be that way.
Oh, no, Josh Shapiro is the future of the party as it goes down the toilet. I agree completely.
Yeah, please let it be. Since Hamas atrocities in southern Israel on October 7th and the subsequent war, and it's not a war, in Gaza, Palestinian Rights has provided a UN platform for figures like Albanese who ignore, downplay, or even deny the extent of the horrors committed on that dark day. Forget the probably 1 million dead Palestinians as a result.
What about every dark day prior? Every dark day prior to October 7th from the Nakba, from the original Nakba.
Scroll, Colin. 50 years after its creation, it's long past time for the U.S. and the allies to shut down
Palestinian rights.
Yeah. This can be done by persuading member states to resign from its ranks, follow the examples of Hungary, Romania, and Ukraine. Gee, what do those 3 countries have in common? All of whom quit. And by blocking approval of the UN's budget until CEIRPP is no more.
Until there are no more Palestinian rights.
Yeah.
That's a perfect thing. Why? Yes, you're talking about the whole existence of a committee whose sole purpose is to protect Palestinian rights. So I think it's fair to call it that.
Such an outcome would help end the UN's discrimination against Israel, as well as against the many stateless persecuted peoples from Kurdistan to Tibet who are not deemed worthy enough to have a UN committee advocating their inalienable rights.
Okay, wait. So you're telling me that they give a shit about the Kurds?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yes. I'm so sure that they care about the Kurds because that's always been top of their mind priority, as opposed to, I don't know, not dividing Kurdistan into 1,000 different places to weaken it so that you could control the entire region on behalf of the creation of Greater Israel. But yes, tell me you're concerned with the Kurds.
It would help eliminate the UN's parallel universe in which Israeli guilt and Palestinian rights are limitless. And it would underline that any vision of the Middle East that doesn't include a secure Israel living in peace with its Arab neighbors, again, Arab.
That alone means you don't want peace. So,
including the Palestinians, belongs in the trash can of history. No, your ideology and everything you stand for not belongs, will be in the dustbin of history.
Absolutely.
And it's coming a lot sooner than you think.